All right, folks, welcome back to Dave's Man Cave. And in today's installment, by the way, hit like, hit subscribe. I am like 3 or 4 people away from breaking 9,000 subs, which is kind of cool. And then the next one will be 10,000 that we're going to shoot for. And I'm probably going to have to do some kind of contest, either a watch, not this one, but come up with like a $200 limit or something on a watch, or a knife, maybe an OTF. I don't know. We'll come up with something cool. And as we get to like 9,500 and we have that last 500 sub stretch to get to 10,000, we'll do a giveaway or something to push it towards, and then we'll have a brand new in the box watch or something like that. We'll come up with something. Stay tuned for that. But I needed one more. I say need, don't need it, but I wanted one more automatic watch, mainly to put at ease my OCD, because I've got a watch winder that's got 6, and then I've got a watch winder with 2. I've got 2 in the one and 5 in the other, and so I see this hole, because it's 3 and 3 in there, rotating, and it's spinning around, and I see that hole there, and it bugs me. And also I notice that the weight, as it lifts it, you hear it change, and then the weight, because it's lopsided, it's spinning, and it's got 2 things, so it's like it's out of balance, and it drives me nuts. So I was like, hey, excuse to go buy another automatic. And I realized I did not have a single GMT in my collection. I've got dive watches, I've got dress watches, I got sport watches, we got all kinds of stuff. Everything from an $83 Timex, actually a $19 Casio, all the way up to just under $5,000, more of a luxury watch, and everything in between. So I wanted something that looked really good, reputable brand, GMT, automatic, and I wanted it under $500. That was my buying criteria. Seiko enters the chat. So did a bunch of research, watched Teddy Baldessar and a bunch of other reviews and stuff, and I was like, ooh, this looks really good. So I go over to talk to my guys at Tripp & Company Jewelers over in Dawsonville, Georgia, and I was able to get this for, with tax, $405 out the door. So what is it? Well, let's open the box, and we have another box. There's a little spot over here where I threw my receipt. It's got the warranty card and all that stuff. Just a, kind of plain cardboard box, nothing fancy. And then you got this box. Hopefully it's not like one of those Russian dolls that just gets smaller and smaller. Oh, and there we got a watch. So what is this model? We'll do some close-up shots here while I'm talking and give you the specs, and then we'll take it out and go over it. This is the model is SSK. So this kind of replaces the SSX or the SKX. Yeah, the old SKX line. So this is a new one that came out a couple years ago. They've been adding a couple different colors every year. So it's Sigma K 035. So SSK 035, MSRP of $475. Got it out the door for $405, so it's $375 plus tax. And let's see what we've got. Diameter, 42.3. My extra links are down there. 42.3 millimeters across. The thickness, 13.6, a little chubby, not too bad. The lug-to-lug length is 46 millimeters. Stainless steel case. Now at this point, it is Hardlex crystal, so not it's not your sapphire, but it's one step below that, and everything's a trade-off. Sapphire, obviously the hardest, most scratch resistant, but hardness, it's like knife steel. You can go to a super high Rockwell, hardness, and it'll hold that edge longer. It's a harder edge. It won't roll. It's not as soft, but sharpening it can be harder, and you're more likely to chip it or snap the blade if you were to torque on it or use it to pry something, which you shouldn't be doing with your knife anyway, but in an emergency situation. So that's how you have to look at it. You look at like a Swiss Army knife or a Swiss tool like I have in my pocket, and the blade on this is a much lower hardness, but it's easy to sharpen and get right back, and this will bend before it snaps. So you got to look at crystal kind of the same way, that you can have it either be super hard, and I got a piece of plastic or something in there which is bugging me. You can have it super hard and scratch resistant, but then a hit on it could cause it to crack or shatter easier. So you can have it be maybe a little more prone to scratches, having a slightly softer crystal like Hardlex, but it would be less likely to crack or shatter. Everything's a trade-off, right? So you decide which one's best for you. That's what this one has. While it looks like a dive watch, like my Citizen ProMaster Diver chronograph, which is a solar-powered chronograph, 200-meter water resistance, all the screw-down crank. I love this watch. This is such a boss watch and a beautiful bracelet. While it looks similar, this is a GMT. So no screw-down crown, only 100-meter water resistance. It looks like a dive watch because it has that sort of case, and it has a bezel, which we'll get to, but it's not used for dive timing, okay? So we covered 42.5, 13.6, 46 millimeter lug to lug. The lug width is 22 millimeters, and it's a Jubilee style. They call it a stainless steel stylized 5-row bracelet. It's all solid end links. It's a Jubilee bracelet. Now, the dial color is green. I'm hoping that I can get, let's see, a flashlight. See, it's got some green in it. When you get it in bright light, right now it's raining and kind of dark out, so I'm not getting the great lighting in here. Oh, I guess we can also do the lume test while we're here. Yeah, it's got lume, guys. Actually, pretty damn good lume, too. That's bright. Nice, nice. So we have that. The bezel is black and then it's green. And in the bright light, you can actually really see the green on the dial comes out. And the dial, has that starburst effect, and it really brings out the green in the lower part of the bezel. You have a stamped clasp. So unlike, I'm going to have to take this off anyway to try this other one on. It doesn't have a nice, machined clasp like the Citizen does, but it is an automatic. Remember, that's quartz, that's solar powered quartz. So even though they're in the same price range, this one has better water resistance and a little bit nicer bracelet, but this is an automatic GMT. So if you want to stay under that price point, you got to make some concessions. So in this case, you do have the safety clasp, and then you have a simple 2 buttons on each side. Lift it, and it is stamped. Doesn't bother me. I mean, it's what it is. What it is. What I do like though is it does have 4 of your micro adjusts. So I have it with, I think we took out 5 links. Now there are no half links, but that's because all these links are fairly small. They're all basically half links. That's the thing with the Jubilee style bracelet, is you don't have big links to remove, to where you kind of need a half because one's going to be too big and one's going to be too small. These are all half links. So almost sound like I said halflings, like I'm talking about hobbits. But you can go ahead and get that dialed in pretty well. That's right where I like it. But if it was summertime and instead of being wintertime and my wrists were a little more swollen, or if I was, pumping up and working out and getting swole and huge, I've got one position tighter, which should kind of be too tight right now. Or I could go too looser. So really easy with these small, I like that about the Jubilee bracelets. Having a combination of where they're basically all half links and having micro adjust, you can get this to a perfect fit. On this one, I sometimes struggle a little bit, and this one's just a little bit tight because adding in a whole nother link is too loose. If it does, and so this one does flop just a little bit, but I can deal with it. And this one, the micro adjust is there. You push the button and that extends. So, if you're going to compare Seiko to Citizen, because they are direct competitors, you can say, well, the Citizen here has, a little bit better specs on some of the things. Yeah, but it's not a GMT, and it's a quartz. It's not an automatic. So this one is considerably lighter. I don't have the weights in here because they don't put that information on the website, but it is a little bit smaller. This is a tank. This is a big, beefy dive watch and a chronograph. So it's a little bit thicker to squeeze all that shit in there. This one has the crown down here. It is not screw down, so be careful diving into the pool. You could wear it, swimming or take a shower with it, but I wouldn't do any kind of diving, whether it be underwater diving like scuba diving or any kind of like diving where you're hitting the water at a high speed, because that impact of that water breaking that surface tension, even though it's only a foot of water, that can force water in. That initial impact is higher than the pressure that you would find at 100 meters, temporarily for a split second, but just a word of caution. Uses the caliber 4R34, which is one of their own calibers, 21,600 vibrations per hour. It is a 24 jewel with an exhibition back, and it does have about 41 hours of power reserve. Now, what I like about this, now some people may not like it. Some people may like having the crown over here. It helps the watch be a little bit slimmer this way. So let me tell you what I mean by it. When you put this on, you can bend your wrist, and because I don't have this crown and the crown guards, I don't feel any discomfort of this. It's kind of down here away at the angle, so it doesn't stick out. It's a few millimeters closer in because it's down here and it's at an angle. It's not built out here. I mean, that sticks out when you take into account all that stuff. And so on this watch, when you turn your wrist, it's not uncomfortable, but it depends on the size of your wrist. So if you had, smaller wrists and you didn't have long, goofy arms like mine, see how now I am turning up, it is more coming into contact with my skin. My wrist happens to be long enough, and the fact that this is kind of loose, it's actually sliding down this way. But if you were someone that wore it a little bit more snug where it didn't want to move, and you're pushing against something, let's say, so your hand is up like that, you start to feel that crown, and you could feel it start to dig into your skin depending on where you wear it. Like I said, mine's a little loose today, so it's kind of, when I do that, it kind of pushes it back out of the way. But I don't know, maybe that makes a difference to some people. God, I really do love this watch. But this guy, I like the idea of the GMT. It's very easy to set. You pull the crown, everything's already set on this, so I'm not going to go unset it and put the wrong time in there. But when you pull it out, you rotate it one direction and it sets your GMT hand, which is this one over here. And you set it for 24-hour time. So if it is 2 p.m. and you're going to set your hour and minute hand, you pull the crown out all the way, just like you would on a normal watch. You'd set your GMT to, you get it synced so that basically, like for me, you set it for your other time zone, and then you set your own time, and then when you rotate it all together, when one turns, the other turns. Some people use this as a 24-hour, so they have military time. They don't have to think about it, because on the inner side, on the inside of that bezel, or if you leave this here, this will match. The 2 is on the 2, the 4 is on the 4 on that inner dial. You can set this to where it's 2 p.m., but you'd set that hour hand over here at 14 p.m. Or I'm sorry, 1400 hours. And that way you'd have military time at the same time, and you can look down and see, that's what people do. I mean, I don't really necessarily have a use for a GMT. I don't normally need to know what the time is in other time zones, but I just wanted a GMT. I think they're cool watches to have. It's an automatic. And when I go on a cruise, or I do travel occasionally for work, I gotta go out to the West Coast, or we go to Italy or do something like that. Even down in the Caribbean, we were bouncing back and forth between a couple different time zones, depending on what island we were on. I had to keep setting my watch. We'd get to port, and I'd get my phone on and have it set itself through the tower to the right time, and then I'd have to go reset my watch. So it'd be kind of cool to just, but then always know what time it was at home, because different days we were in different time zones. And yeah, there was a notice they'd send out every day to let you know what the ship time was. But I was always like, well, wait, yesterday we were 2 hours different from home. Today we're only 1 hour different from home, so it's nice to be able to have them independent and say, well, I can set the one for where I'm at and then leave the other to where it's just always showing the correct time at home. So if I had to check in with my parents or call somebody at work, things like that. People have uses for GMTs. I just thought it was a beautiful, classy watch. They've got a bunch of different colors. They got one with a white dial. They've got yellow. They've got orange. They've got blue. They've got black. They've got gray. I think there's like 9 or 10 different ones I saw there today. But it's a good size, 42.5, right there in the sweet spot for me. I have gone down to 40. I got a couple 40s, but my sweet spot for me is like 42, 43. That's where I'm happiest. I have some 44s and 45s. They're a little big. This one, I believe, is a 44. You can see the difference. We'll do a close-up of these two side by side just so you can see. But very nice watch. And for $400, really, really good bargain. It used to be like if you wanted mechanical, GMTs, you were looking at $1,000 or $2,000 minimum for anything decent. So Seiko has come out with a couple different movements. I think they had the NH34A or something like that. That was a mechanical Maybe was that one automatic? I think it was. Then they've got this newer one, the 4R34, but you can see it side by side against the Citizen ProMaster Diver. This one's it's a lot more watch. This thing is definitely brawny, but some people won't like that. You know, they're like, God, it feels like I'm walking around with an ankle weight on my wrist. But you can see the difference in the thickness. Really well done. We'll try to get some macro shots. Let me wipe the fingerprints off the lens here. All right, so let's see. Do a bit of a close-up. Hopefully that's focusing properly. Bracelet. Really, really nice. Very nice. Simple Seiko logo there. Just really, Seiko does a really good job on their fit and finish. You know, finding something that's that nice in this price point. It's a beautiful watch. Very simple on the crown, nothing really there. So, you know, it's not as fancy as some. I mean, you know, again, this thing has, you know, I think this is probably looks fancier. Well, it looks busier. I'll give it that. The bracelet, I think, looks a little nicer. But it's not a GMT, and it is a quartz. And some people, you know, you do pay more money for automatic, and you do pay more money for GMT. So I think when you look at what you're getting here, it's a fantastic, fantastic bargain. I like it. I'm going to enjoy wearing this. I don't know that I really have a use for the GMT. I just really like the way it looks. And honestly, again, when you get the sunlight on it, again, it's kind of hard to, but you can start to see that green start to pop. It's a bright emerald green. It's a really, really cool looking watch. Very reminiscent of the Batman from our friends over at Rolex. Really bright lume. Doesn't last terribly long, but it is pretty damn bright. So there you have it, SSK035. I'll put a link to Seiko's website, to this family where you'll be able to go in and see the other colors and stuff. But if you're looking for an automatic GMT and you'd want to spend less than $500 out the door, I don't know of what other options. I mean, you can go with, you know, the Paganis and the knockoff brands and stuff like that that are using Seiko movements, you know. But I'm trying to not have knockoff brands. Even though San Martin and some of these other companies are actually making really decent watches, I'm just at a point in my collection where I want the Seiko. That doesn't mean I won't have cheap watches. I got a $20 Casio, a $99 Casio, an $83 Timex. I'll have inexpensive watches because sometimes you just want a nice looking watch that's fun and you don't want to spend a ton of money. And could be for when you're traveling. You want a watch that looks decent, but you don't want to get robbed if you're going up to Chicago and going to be walking around at night. So, you know, you're not going to wear a $5,000 Tudor or Breitling or something like that, right? You take your Casio. You take your $400 Seiko. You want to have a nice watch while you're away on business or going out to dinner, but, you know, you don't have to worry about it getting stolen or whatever. And if it is stolen, you don't want to be out thousands of dollars. You can go pick up a new $100 watch at the airport on the way home, right? So not a big deal. But that's the SSK035. Beautiful. Love the bracelet. Fits really well. I love the micro adjust, and the Jubilee bracelet makes it super easy to get really fine tuned to your wrist. And it's just a fantastic looking watch. So I am going to enjoy that. Hopefully you like it. Hit like and subscribe, all that usual fun stuff. And we'll see you on the next one.